I'm not a piece of shit if I rest. Where's that voice coming from? Is from the feeling that in order to be loved, I need to I need to produce. I do need to do more. Um, and and it's really hard, right? Because oftentimes the stronger of the two voices will be the one that's like, you're a piece of shit and blah blah. And a lot of times you'll still give yourself the rest, but you won't be doing it because you feel like it's what you need to do. You'll just be doing it because you're like, yeah, maybe I am a piece of shit, and you'll just like feel bad about taking rest. Going on? What is going on, people? Welcome back to the Pupil's Life. It is what day is it today, man? It is November 16th. It is November 16th, and I'm back for another episode of the Pupil's Life. Really, I'm in Mexico, right? And I'm having the time of my life. But as far as you're concerned, I'm back and we're at it again. And guess what? This ain't no cursing episode, or this ain't no non-cursing episode. I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want, dude. Because it feels so much better to just fucking say whatever I want, man. And I'm just writing something down real quick. And welcome back. Welcome, everybody. Today is not a no cursing episode. Today is just a regular, you're tuning in to the Pupil's Life episode. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get back on those F-bombs and fucking all the other shit. What can I bother you with today? No, I'm kidding. I look like a criminal. If I had to describe if I had to describe the way that I dress in one word, it would be criminal. Because my clothes are ratty, they've got holes, and most of them are dark or baggy. Dude, what's up? What is up? I did the almost no cursing episode. I didn't think that I would be able to do that. And I thought it was going to be the most boring thing in the world, but I know it kind of was. It was fun in its own way. It was not the worst thing in the world. Dude, it's so funny. My fucking notes. I've had two notes on my thing for the longest time. One of them is from the movie Phone Booth. It's a quote from the movie Phone Booth, because I was trying to make it a point to watch that movie again so that I could say that quote. And the other one is "Women Are Better Than Men" video. It's a Dr. Phil video, and I was just like, dude, why do you want to start that? And so I'm not going to talk about either of those things, but I am going to talk about November 16th, man. If the world hasn't ended already, then you've made it this far, right? If you're watching this broadcast, then the world is still standing. And it is kind of fun to think, though. Not fun, but it's kind of weird to think, like, what if it isn't the same, right? It's already changing. And what if people are just like fucking like go wild, right? Like, what if it tests out, like, how they say that if you've made it to this point in life, then you've already won the gene race. Like, your genes were already stronger than the competitors. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. It's like, well, what if the test gets harder? What if it's fucking like there's still that like hesitancy in me to say the F word? That's funny. What if now it's like, oh yeah, you want to be here? Or what if 50 years from now your kids are told, like, you're already stronger than your competitors because 50 years ago your dad like fought Antifa. 50 years ago your dad fucking like defended his apartment to the death with a shoe. uh, and but no, really what I wanted to talk about was giving yourself permission to rest. I had a couple instances recently where I one of them was, it was on a Sunday, and I had been working for a couple days straight, and I woke up, right, and Sundays I don't work until 1:30. And so I woke up and I was like, I'm going to meditate and write and do all my things that I do before work, right? Which are basically more work. And I woke up and I started meditating. And as I was meditating, I started to feel sort of like kind of sick, like in my stomach. And I thought, like, what is this feeling? This has never been there before when I'm meditating. And excuse me, it's almost like I felt like I was going to throw up. And I said, oh, maybe this is my body saying, we're not going to write today. We need rest. And so I just remember thinking, like, I had that thought. And then I also had the thought, oh, you're going to use this as an excuse not to write, you piece of shit. You're going to use this as an excuse. And I said, man, that voice is very aggressive and very angry. I don't want to listen to that voice because I do kind of want to rest. And I've already been writing for the past few days, and I have to work at 1:30 for 7-8 hours. Why do I feel like I need to write? Can't I just give myself a break? Oh man. And so I was just like, dude, this is when the body says no. Right? It was magical in that sense that it was like, wow. So this is what it feels like when your body says, hold up, we need rest. And if you actually pay attention, you can hear your body say no. And so I gave myself that day, that morning, just sat outside and looked at the trees, drank a green juice, and then a couple days later, I got home from work and I was like feeling kind of sore and just really like low health, man. And I was like, I haven't worked out today, and today's the day that I work out. And the same pattern happened, right? Like, oh, you piece of shit, you're not going to work out and blah, blah. And it was just like, where's this voice coming from that is telling me I'm a piece of shit if I don't work out? Because I'm not a piece of shit if I don't work out today. And I'm not a piece of shit if I skip one day of writing. so that I can rest. I'm not a piece of shit if I rest. Where's that voice coming from? Is from the feeling that in order to be loved, I need to do. I need to produce. I do need to do more. Um, and it's really hard, right? Because oftentimes the stronger of the two voices will be the one that's like, you're a piece of shit and blah blah. And a lot of times you'll still give yourself the rest, but you won't be doing it because you feel like it's what you need to do. You'll just be doing it because you're like, yeah, maybe I am a piece of shit, and you'll just like feel bad about taking rest, which then I don't even know how restful that really is. But yeah, it was just so refreshing to be able to give myself permission to like, oh, you don't have to just like you don't have to listen to your thoughts, and you don't have to fucking grind yourself to the ground. You gotta leave some leftovers for fucking dinner, man. uh, Dude, I'm the worst at like analogies and metaphors and shit. I'm just it's like I always feel like they need to rhyme, or they need to be fucking like been said before. But so I gave myself permission, and it was also like a sign, like, all right, man, this is a sign that I'm doing things differently, and that I'm actually changing, and that I'm not just pretending to change. And the funny thing is that in the past, I would have just smoked instead. And man, it's so like, the more you think about smoking, the more you want to do it, like the more that I think, man, it would be really nice to just fucking spark up and like, just go outside, go for a little walk, and fucking, take the easy way out, is basically what it feels like. And maybe the year mark is when it starts to get hard. I don't know, but I'm just thinking about that a lot lately. Like, why do I want that easy way out? And what did I get out of it before? It just numbing myself. Like, I remember one of my good friends and one of my old friends, we don't really hang out much anymore, but there was a solid 2 or 3 years where I would just go over to his apartment. We would smoke a blunt together and then fucking watch TV or play video games or listen to music. Sometimes these times I remember a little bit more romantically, because we had just met, and I was still fresh to Austin. It was my first year. He was dating this girl that he was really crushing on, and he was learning how to play a song on the mandolin, and he would play it, and he would ask me to sing along, because it's harder to play and sing than it is to just play. But I would be high and I'd be paranoid, and so I wouldn't want to. But we did get to the point where I like kind of cracked my shell, and I did start to sing a little bit. And he told me he was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, and we would talk about that, and we would talk about literature. Like, a lot of times back then, it was like we would have discussions when we were high. And as we grew a little bit older and just like closer friends, he would have more people there. Like, it stopped being just me and him. And then it was just like less about like talking and more about consuming. And I still have really good memories from even just the consuming moments. You know, I once went over to his apartment and another friend of ours was there. And I showed them both the Pillow Talk Lil Dicky music video. And dude, we watched that like 6 or 7 times in a row and just like nonstop. You think you're gonna die laughing, you know, like that's got to be one of the funniest music videos ever made, right? One of the funniest songs ever made. It's just like this bitch don't know about Pangea. Like, you know, it's just so quotable, man. And and then from then on, like my buddies and I would just be like, you know, someone would be saying something and you could tell that they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, and you just look over and you're like, this bitch don't know about Pangea. And you're just like, you know, it's awesome when you do have those references, right? But yeah, so I just remember it so vividly, man, because it wasn't that long ago that I was still smoking and that I was still hanging out with him. There's just nothing like having a fucking like a ticket to get on a train to fucking nowhere anytime you want when you're feeling down and when you're feeling stressed out. You know, like if I get off work and you know, I've just fucking had to deal with people saying that I'm trash or whatever, right? Like whatever the case is, I'm just stressed out from work and I'm like, fuck, dude. There's like weight on my shoulders that I almost feel like it's tense. And I know, dude, I know there's a fucking ticket to nowhere on my phone and his name is Marcelo, dude. And it's fucking just like, you know, because the guy cares about his friends a lot, and so he's got to be one of the more selfless people I've ever met, man. Like he would always like just smoke me out, man, for free, and just um you know, sometimes he would even pick me up and drop me off at home. um he sometimes made meals for me, dude. It's like it was an ideal setup for somebody that didn't want to get high at home but wanted to just get high with other people. It's like I got this friend that's got fucking good weed, you know, and when you're riding your bicycle and someone honks at you and you're just like, fuck, man, fuck. You know, it's just like, I don't want to go home today, man. I want to go to nowhere land. And you just fucking punch in, you know, train person is like headed nowhere. You're just like, fuck yeah, dude, take me there. You know, you shut your fucking cabinet door and it's just fucking and if I can, you fall back and all of a sudden, dude, nothing matters anymore, right? All of a sudden, you know, whatever it is that felt so heavy before, it's not there anymore. And all of a sudden, dude, you know, you do want to go home and you're kind of like, oh, dude, I do kind of want to go rest. You know, I just fucking want to like, your eyes start to like, yeah, you know. um, Man, if I keep talking about this, I'm going to convince myself to smoke. So I should fucking stop. Uh, but yeah, I guess also the thing that they say is that you should learn to love your coping mechanisms and just say, "Oh, thank you. You were very helpful in the past, but I don't need you anymore." And so I guess it's like, you know, whenever that train rolls around and the advisor gets up and he's like, "Whoop whoop, train to nowhere, leaving in fucking 10." And you're just like sitting at the station, just fucking like just sitting at the station listening to music, and you're like, fuck, man, I don't want to go home, man. I want to go nowhere, man. And it starts fucking pouring. So you know that if you go home, you're going to have to walk there in the rain. And it's just like in that moment, yeah, being like, you know, the conductor walks up to you and he's like, got an extra ticket. Would you like to go to Nowhere Land? And instead of being like, man, fucking leave me alone, dude. Okay. I'm having a bad day. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't want to go to fucking nowhere. Okay. Because I know that's going to take me nowhere. So just fucking leave me alone. Like, you've taken me nowhere a bunch of times already and I don't like it, man. So just get the fuck out of my life. You know, instead of doing something like that, you're just like, man, I don't want to fucking go home, man. And the guy's like, I got a free ticket to Nowhere Land. And you just look up and you're like, man, you know, you take off your hoodie and you're like, man, Nowhere Land, you know, it really sounds like a good place and a safe place, and I appreciate you offering me this free ticket, but I think I need to walk home in the rain tonight. I think I need to walk home in the rain tonight. I think I need, dude, I'm so fucking silly, man. I am so fucking silly. But yeah, man, that's what you do is you just say, I think I need to walk home in the rain right now. I think I need to walk home in the rain tonight. Because if you don't, man, if you always take the train out, if you always take that free ticket, you know, if you always take free lunch, man, you know, the lunch lady's going to come collect one day. The lunch lady's going to come collect and she's going to say, oh, yeah, bitch, what about those 300 free lunches I gave you? You know, now it's time to come collect, man. It's time for me to get my dues. So yeah, it's about taking the rain home sometimes. And just learning to love your your coping mechanisms, because, you know, yeah, I know I could smoke, man, and, you know, maybe I would feel a little bit of relief momentarily, but I know where that leads me. I know where that leads me, and you know, I don't want to end up there again. And I also, you know, the relief that I feel would quickly be replaced by feeling like, just like I'm letting myself down, you know. And so yeah, man, I'm just gonna stop talking about it. I sent my grandma. My grandma sent me a birthday letter, and she said that, what did she say? She said, this is the letter. She said, grandson, it's been wonderful watching you grow from a lovable little boy into the thoughtful, caring man you are today. Well, that's what the letter says. That's not what she wrote. Each stage of your life has brought its own special joys, its own treasured memories, and your birthday is the perfect time to celebrate those memories. The perfect time to celebrate the pride and happiness that come from having a grandson like you. Happy birthday. Apologies for being late with your card and gift. Lots going on at home with grandpa not here. With help, I've been getting it all taken care of. Hope you had a special day on October 3rd, and to let us know how things are with you. Love you always, grandma and grandpa. And it's just like, dude, you know, she hasn't missed a single birthday, dude. And she always says, grandma and grandpa, even though I know, dude, like my fucking grandpa didn't, you know, he just signed off on that shit. You know what I mean, dude? Like I've done that before too. I'm not judging him, but I'm just saying, like, dude, it's so sweet of my grandma to like want me to feel like this came from both of them. Because I know deep down that it did, you know, whether or not my grandpa sat down and wrote it with her, it doesn't make it less true or not. But um, and so she sent me that, and I was like, I haven't written my grandma in a long time, so I wrote her an email, just letting her know what's up with me, and I told her about the podcast, which I hadn't told her about, uh, because I haven't talked to her since I started doing the podcast, believe it or not. And I sent her the Young Duong episode because I was like, dude, which one's the most PG, you know, like uh, episode? Even though she could just scroll to the fucking description of the video and see all the prostitution things and all that, right? But I'm sure she already knows about it. And then she wrote me back and she was like, I really like the podcast. I'm super proud of you. Just expanded a little bit more. She's saying she wants to sell the house and see out her days in a nursing facility, is what she said. And then she said something that broke my heart, man. She said, your grandpa contracted COVID and it was very minor. He's much better now. But because of that, and just because of COVID in general, they're not allowing in-person visits anymore. And so we only get to talk for 15 minutes a day on FaceTime. $15, dude. You know, you've been married for over 60 years. And when you reach the end of your life, you know, the final years, you get 15 minutes a day on a fucking screen. And it's just heartbreaking, man. Like, because that means that everyone else is getting the same. You know, that means that my mom can't go see her dad, that my uncles can't go see their dad, that my cousins can't go see their grandpa, and that he can't see his family, you know, even though he's got dementia, you know, I'd like to think that even when you have dementia, that you still, some kind of joy is triggered in you when you see your family or when you see people that are there to see you, right? When you're just in a nursing home all day and it's like, here's your food, Bob. And it's like fucking, you know, they just serve you like old mashed potatoes. And then someone comes in and they're like, Bob, how are you doing? Like, oh, well, I was in the trenches with my friends today. Like, he could just make up whatever fucking story he wants, dude. You know, those people are there to see him and to listen to him, and all of a sudden he's got attention. And, you know, I'm sure that that's got to make you happy to some extent. But 15 minutes, man, because of this fucking COVID thing, because of how politicized it's gotten. You know, just picture being in your late 80s and this person that you used to make love to, that you had children with, that then had your grandchildren, this person that you traveled with, and this person that, you know, that if you're my grandparents, you met in high school or college, Um, and you know, like, and now you just get to see their face on a screen for 15 minutes. Like, if that's not a fucking Black Mirror episode right there, man, I don't know what is. Like, if we're not already at the Black Mirror stage of life, then you know, we need to go back and watch that again. I I just I don't know, man. It's sad. It's sad, and I realize that that is why I don't write my grandma as often anymore. Is because I have to feel things that are uncomfortable and that are painful. You know, to know that she's at home struggling to fucking keep up with maintenance, and that because of that she's like, you know, I'm just going to sell the house and see my days out in a nursing facility. It's like, damn, man. You know, like you just think of the days. I just remember the days when I would go over there, and my grandma and my grandpa were still both living at the house, and I would wake up at like 7:30. My mom would already be in the kitchen having breakfast with them. And my grandma would be like, "How many eggs do you want today, kiddo?" And I'd be like, "Fucking 5." She's like, "Are you sure you're going to eat that many?" And I'm like, "And 3 slices of toast and some cereal." And then just fucking like, you know, they used to joke that I called it invisible butter because it melted, man. Uh, and she made like the best eggs and the best bacon. And then we just sit around the table and chat, and after breakfast, Grandpa and I would go get donuts at Pete's Coffee and Donuts, and he would just tell me stories, man, from his youth. Um, you know, my grandpa was the reader. My grandpa was always reading, and he liked those, you know, like those cowboy western type books, and or crime mystery detective thriller things, um, and I don't know if he ever wrote. I never asked him that, but I know my grandma wrote a little bit, but I just remember the stories that my grandpa would tell me. Like, he used to dig trenches, or he used to dig ditches for bridges, and he told me that he was at like one of the first atomic bomb detonations at like a testing site, and just like that he used to play football, and then like take my grandma out to the dances after school, and it's just like, man, I wish that I wish that there was somewhere I could read more about that. I wish that there was like a video of him talking about these things, you know. And also, I wish that I had been a little bit less traumatized and like afraid at that age, because I would have retained a lot more information, right? Like when I would go out with him to the donut shop, it was like I was almost like scared to be with him, because my mom had told us that there were so many things that they did differently to how we lived our life in Mexico, that I was like, okay, so I need to like, you know, don't speak Spanish around them. Don't do this. Don't tell them that I curse when I'm driving. Don't tell them, like, hide all this shit. Right. And so I would be like, dude, I'm just going to hide myself. Like, I'm just going to pretend that I don't even exist. Uh, and, and I remember, like, more than anything, I remember just staring into his eyes through his bifocals with his white t-shirt that was tucked into his jeans. And if it was Christmas time, sometimes he was wearing a jacket or his hoodie, You know, dude, he had this blue hoodie that looks just like one of the blue hoodies that I have right now. And he used to wear that all the time and just roll into the store and they'd be like, Bob, how you doing today? How you doing today, sir? And be like, oh, well, just get some sugar for the kiddos. Like say some silly joke, you know, and he always had like the silliest jokes that were endearing more than they were funny. Um, and yeah, man, I would just stare into his eyes and listen to him talk about the war and talk about, you know, the year that they went RVing around Europe with my mom and her brothers and homeschooled them and what it was like to be a math teacher back then. And, uh, you know, he taught me that when you're driving, if you see a light turn red, just take your foot off the accelerator and let the car come to start to slow down on its own so that by the time you reach the red light, it'll turn green and you won't ever have had to step on the brake, put your foot on the brake, and that you'll save gas that way, right? Which is such a good metaphor for like, you know, I heard Matthew McConaughey say this on the Joe Rogan podcast recently, and I felt like this was a good metaphor for what he said was that, you know, don't make drama out of small things because there's big drama coming. And you need to be ready for when it comes. So if you're spending all your energy when there's no drama, making up shit out of small stuff, then you're going to be depleted by the time real drama comes and you're not going to be prepared, you know? So save a little bit of gas, dude. Cut down on your mileage. Just put your foot, just take your foot off the accelerator. You know, you don't always have to be going 100 miles an hour in life. You could just let life start to slow down a little bit. And you know, he just had little lessons like that he used to teach me. And that you know that he was teaching me for the very practical use, like to save gas. And I was like 10, so I didn't even know what gas was or how it applied to a vehicle. But he was just like he moved slow and he talked slow and he thought about what he was saying and he was very proper and just fucking, you know. And the reason I say was and had is not because he's passed, but it's just because he's, you know, he's not the same person that he used to be, from what I hear. And so yeah, man, you know, grandparents. I was lucky to have 3 of my 4 grandparents. And I did meet my dad's mom. I met my grandma, mi abuelita. I met mi abuelita. And I remember less about our conversations with her because I never felt like I was a part of my dad's family. You know, I wouldn't see them very often. And when I would, it was always like, we're the Americans, right? So we're the different ones. We're the only ones that don't live in the same city as you. So, you know, that was always, and that was the case with my American family too, but they were just a little bit better at being welcoming. You know, my Mexican family was more about teasing and that I just didn't know how to receive that at the time. But I do remember having to yell in my abuelita's head and in my abuelita's ear because she never heard you on the first try. It was like, fucking like, abuelita, ¿me puedes pasar la sal? Like, pass me the salt. And she's just like, ah? You know, you're just like fucking, oh, that's right, dude. You're like 90 what? And you're just like, pásame la sal, abuelita. And then she'd be like, ay, pero no me tienes que gritar. You know, you don't have to yell at me. And you're just like, but I fucking do, man. I fucking do, because you're deaf and you're 90 something, man. And, you know, I wish that I had gone to her funeral, but I didn't get the invite. Man. You know, my dad, I guess he was trying to protect us, right? He's like, I think really he was trying to protect himself. He didn't want us to see him crying. And, but you know, now I have no memory of that. And I wish that I did, you know, I wish that I did. I'm sure that I would have had some positive words to say about her at the fucking funeral. So what else, man? All this family drama. Oh yeah, I did want to get into another kind of not dramatic thing, but another serious thing which is that, you know, I was seeing this girl a couple months ago, and I only saw her for about a month, and you know, she went through some really heavy things, and she told me about those things pretty early on, and she knew about my memoir, and she knew about all that shit, right? And she didn't care. Like, she didn't treat me any differently because of it. And but we had a lot of conversations about, you know, telling your truth and why it matters and how to do it. And I shared with her like some of the podcast episodes I've done, and we would always I would always ask her, and like, why don't you do it? Or what's your relationship like with your mom? And at the end of the day, like, I ended things with her because I wasn't attracted to her enough. Like, I just wasn't. I didn't feel it when I was with her. You know, she was a wonderful person, and she was funny. She was nice, but it was just like, you know, there wasn't that physical oh, I want to be with this person. I want to see this person. I want to fucking like. It was just like, oh yeah, I could see this person. Like, um, and maybe like a week after I ended things with her, she made a post on social media where she finally opened up about some of her struggles. And it was like, you know, on one hand, it was very reaffirming of like, all right, man, like I made an impact on this person. Because she was really afraid to talk about these things with people in a public manner. And so then I saw that post, and it was just like, you know, I read some of the comments, and she was talking about having read books that I had recommended to her. And it was like, man, you know, you always dream about being able to not change people, but about being able to impact people. And when you recommend something to friends, it's like, I wish that you would actually fucking take me up on the recommendation, right? And she did. And it put this doubt in my head, right? Because it was like a week after I ended things with her, and it was like, man, did I make a mistake? Should I not have ended things with her? And it's like, it was a feeling that faded pretty quickly. So I know that it was the right decision, but it just showed me how easily it is for me, or how easily it has been in the past for me, to fall into a relationship that I don't really want to be in. Um, and how easy it is for me to convince myself, just like, oh, but she's doing this one thing and I don't want to be alone. And like why it's always so hard for me to end things and to say goodbye to people. And um, yeah, because why can't it just be that we ended things um, and then she posts that, and then I'm like, oh, that's awesome for her. Like, I still don't need her in my life, like, which is what happened, right? But the initial feeling was like, oh, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should try to convince her somehow to like try to go out with me again. Um, and but it's also like it's hard to you just see I see these people come in and out of my life that aren't judgmental of my memoir, that aren't judgmental of the things that I've done, and that actually like me. But there's always something about them that I'm like, but that's not like I can't be with this person long term, And then the people that I do want to be with long term are not even fucking interested in talking to me, man. Um, and so I don't know. On one hand, I was just like, this is awesome that this person did this and that I was able to play any kind of role in that, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the point of sharing my truth is to help other people. Um, and so I've just been reflecting on that a little bit and reflecting on, this was a good decision for her and for me. And it's always going to feel, or it will feel, at least for now, for a while, like maybe you made the wrong decision, right? Like that's a normal feeling for me to have because there's this fear of maybe I won't find somebody else. Maybe no one else will accept me. Um, but I think part of the work that I've been doing about accepting myself is that, oh, it doesn't matter if someone else doesn't accept me because I accept me, which gives me then the power to say, oh, I don't, you know, if you don't like why I can't continue to see you and you reject that, that's okay because I don't reject that part of myself, Um, people change their minds and people, like you one day, hate you the other. Um, and so, yeah, it's just, I guess ultimately it was a positive thing. Positive for her and positive for me just to prove to myself, like, you're not as fucked up as you think you are. And you're not as fucked up in the way that, like, that you're just going to immediately over attach to people. Um, like you are good at setting boundaries and you are good at knowing like if this person is the right person for you or not. Dude, it's fucking, oh man, it's so hot in my fucking bedroom, man. I don't know why I decided to wear this. I've not been hitting on all cylinders with my wardrobe choices. People used to call my nipples pepperoni nipples. And it was so hurtful, man. Why do people have to bully each other? Um, why do people have to bully each other? Well, because if we don't bully each other, we're all going to be a bunch of pussies, man. It's crazy. It's crazy that you're not going to listen to this until I'm in Cancun. And that when I'm in Cancun, I'm just going to be fucking taken in the sun, dude. And like, just fucking, dude, I can't wait. I'm going to be doing this. I forget if I've talked about this already, but I'm going to be doing like I hate the fucking word, but like a phone detox. I'm going to turn off my phone the day that I get there, like that night, and just fucking probably keep it off until I have to fly back. And I'm doing that because there are times, and I think I have mentioned this before, but there are times where I'll just, I'll be in the shower, dude, and I'll be like, when I get out of the shower, or I want to go do this and this and this. I'm going to go eat this and then sit outside for an hour. And then I'll walk out and look at my fucking phone. And 2 hours later, I'm sweating and I'm reading the comments on like my high school girlfriend's Facebook page, like fucking, how did I get here, dude? ¿Cómo llegué aquí? Dude, I want to do a Spanish podcast. But that's just too much, man. I'm already doing too many things and it's too exhausting. I woke up and I woke up at like 3 a.m. today. And fucking, dude, I could barely swallow my spit. And I've got something going on with my like back molar where I was just like, dude, am I getting sick right before my trip? Like, is this really happening? Or am I just chewing on my fucking mouth guard too hard? And I don't know the answer to that. I do not know the answer to that question. Yeah, man, I got fucking 10 more minutes. What else, man? What else can I fucking draw strings from? I'm working on the new memoir. I don't even want to say halfway because then that sets it in my mind as that a fact that I'm halfway, but I'm nearing the halfway point in my new memoir. And it's the same fucking process that it always is, dude. I get why it's so hard for people to write because it's like, it's become normal for me to go through these things, but I have mornings where I sit down and I write and I'm like, dude, this is genius. This is fucking gold right here. And then I have mornings where I sit down and I write and by the end of it I'm just like, dude, people are going to know that I'm a fucking poser. And I go to the extremes. I'm never in the middle where I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good, man. This going to do all right. It's always like fucking jerking myself off or just like jerking off on myself. But I am excited, I don't know, there's something about just like working on a creative project that like, all right, once I finish the writing part of it, then I can talk to the cover designer and I wonder what she'll come up with this time. And then I can fucking record the audiobook, which is always so fun. And then I get to write like the copy, right? Try to like explain to people in a very clear way what the book is about. And I have some more ideas as far as like the book launch that I've learned from like Quan Win and, just following some of these people. And one of the very helpful things about the guests that I get on my podcast is that, they all put their books out with the same company, Scribe Media. And by signing up for their newsletters and getting free chapters ahead of time and then being reminded of when to review their book when it comes out and blah, 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 it's like, oh, that's how these people get their books to become successful, right? You obviously have to write a good book first, but assuming that I'm doing that, I just have to, there's just shit that if you don't know, you don't know. Like, oh, I didn't know that I could send free chapters ahead of time and then not send all of the chapters. And sort of, if people liked it, they'll want to buy the whole thing. And also, like, like Quan did this amazing thing where he's like, the book came out this week. If you haven't finished it, if you haven't bought it yet, please consider leaving a review and updating it later based off of the stuff you've already read that I sent you, because the first week is the most impactful for the book as far as like launch. And so I'm excited to do that, break up the fucking book into like send out the first 10 chapters of it and get people excited that way, and do giveaways. There's just a lot of stuff, man. It's just a lot of stuff that's exciting. And yeah, I'm honestly not feeling super physically well tonight. So it's that fucking thing with my teeth, dude, or it could be my tonsils again, or I don't know, man. But so I think I'm gonna end it early. I'm gonna call it today, boys. As always, thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for your support, whatever form that comes in. And if you like what you heard, please consider subscribing, rating on iTunes, or leaving a comment. If you are a writer, or if you are an aspiring writer and you want some helpful writing tools and a writing prompt sent to you every week, you can go to sendfox.com/NIKOAGF. And that is my newsletter where you will not get spammed. And if you ever get something that you think is not useful for you, you can unsubscribe. So with that said, I am in Mexico. I should be back next week. So the episode after this one, you will see a fucking, probably a little bit more tan version of me, So thanks for listening, and have a great rest of your week. I hope the world hasn't collapsed and you are still alive.